Hi there, I'm excited to be part of this hybrid fitness summit because it gives me a chance to talk to you about this, the Concept 2 rowing machine. Now, this has played a massive part in my fitness journey for the past 25 years, going all the way back to when I was a squash player, using it for cardio building in order to kind of get me fitter when I wasn't on court. And then for the past kind of 12, 13 years, I've been racing on the Concept 2. I've won gold medals, I've won silver medals, I came fourth in the World Championships, and that was annoying. I've had 2 world records at one point, and I only have 1 world record, and that's a bit. But anyway, and then 2018, I had a bit of an accident sharpening a knife, cut my hand, and that put the end to my racing career back in kind of 2018. And so ever since, I've been rehabbing myself, trying to get my strength back up, my fitness back up for rowing performance. And as part of that, I set up the RowAlong YouTube channel in order to help other people row. So you can find it and you can go and get tips on technique and all that stuff, and whole hundreds of workouts that you can row along to in order to improve your rowing. But during all of that rehab, that's when Hyrox came along, and being someone who kind of figured he was okay in a rowing machine, I thought, hey, I can row, I'm going to be great at Hyrox. How wrong I was. Because, I mean, you'll agree, the row is what, 4 minutes, 5 minutes part of a much longer race. And so when I did my first ever Hyrox, I got like to that halfway point onto the row, and I was done after the burpees. The burpees just destroyed me, and I got into the row and I was kind of all over the place. And so I realized from that very first race that the row in Hyrox is not about rowing. All the thoughts that I had when I came into this about, hey, I'll be able to teach people how to row fast and improve stuff, kind of went out the window. And what I worked out is that the row is about efficiency, okay? It's about deciding what you want to do and doing it in the most efficient way possible. And that is why I talk technique all the time. Technique is the most important way to stay efficient when it comes to your row. Now, you basically have kind of 3 ways to address the row when you're at Hyrox, okay? So you can be the Elite 15 type, super strong kind of person who just kind of sits down on the machine and absolutely mashes as fast as they can because you're super duper fit, and you can get kind of in and out of the machine, get onto your next run, go on to the next thing, and you're all about trying to get sub-hour or whatever, okay? Then you get the people who, like me now, I use this I mean, I used to rail against saying it, so I'm going to say it now. I use it as a rest, okay? So, like I said, because I get through the burpees and I'm kind of like, oh, I'm done. I sit on the rowing machine and I use this as a way to recover for the rest of my race to come, okay? I'll talk about this in a minute. But then the third people who row Hyrox are the ones that just flap up and down like a dying salmon, okay? They've got no idea how to kind of efficiently put power into the machine. They don't, most of them, like looking at it, lots of people don't even know it's about legs. They just think it's about pulling as much as you can, which isn't true, okay? So that's where technique comes in, where if you can address the machine with a good technique, hello, I got a good technique. If you can put the power into the machine with a good technique, then you can decide how you're going to use it, all right? So, or you can decide to kind of work against that technique, and then you can kind of, with the knowledge, you're going to be expending more energy. So what I want to do is kind of just look at technique and kind of the different ways that will then affect how you're rowing, how to improve the dying salmons, how maybe the people at the top end who are trying to get more pace and kind of rowing with still a bit of a dodgy technique, if they just tidied things up, they could go even faster. And then the people in the middle who are trying to use it as a rest, making sure you use it as a rest, okay? And all 3 of these little circles, it's about efficiency, okay? So your technique on the rowing machine will give you efficiency, and with efficiency is either going to come that rest, or it's going to become being able to go at the same speed with less energy, or going even faster than you are right now because you're now able to put all of the power into the machine rather than missing out on a few technique points that would allow you to put in more power into the machine. Does this all make sense? Great. So the thing I would say when it comes to listening to people talk about Hyrox is you need to look at the people who are kind of closer to what you're like. Or what I'm trying to say is that the Hyrox market, the world of Hyrox right now, is being flooded by PTs who are coming in and saying, hey, this is how to row, this is how to do whatever. And they're all beefcakes, okay? They're all big fellas. So it's all absolutely fine. Look at James Hall. He's a massive, massive guy, okay? So he's gonna just beast power into the machine. But then I think someone like me, I'm only 78 kilograms, I don't have, I mean, listen, his biceps are bigger than my thighs. So I watch how he does things and I think, well, I'm never going to manage to do what you're doing because I don't have your muscles. And it's the same with all these PTs that are coming along and telling you what to do. They're all kind of looking at it from their body point of view. They're not kind of saying, well, how does the normal person, how do they then make their stroke a lot more efficient? Now, I will say though that James is fantastic at still talking about efficiency of the stroke. All I'm saying is that from a body point of view, I don't particularly relate to somebody who looks like that when it comes to how to row, because he's got muscles in places that I can't even dream of having muscles there. So that's what I'm saying, is that if you're watching videos and you're taking advice from people, make sure that it's kind of, the advice they're giving is kind of suitable for your body type. Like we'll go all the way up to the top, and Hunter, he's made a couple of great videos about rowing and things for how to row, but his technique on what to do is rubbish for people who don't have his muscles. So we'll look at what he does right now, and I'll explain kind of what the issue is, okay? So I'll show the Hunter row, and then I'll explain what the rowing stroke is going to be, all right? This is all going to be topsy-turvy all over the place, all right? This is how I'd always talk this way. I'm trying to get it all out as fast as I can to you so I'm not wasting your time. So Hunter is incredibly strong. His upper body is really, really powerful, and he gets to the point in the row where I think he wants to pretty much rest his legs, and he doesn't want to expend too much energy from too much of his body, and he uses his upper body power in order to make up for what he's not putting in with his legs and his core, and he just uses his arms. So Hunter will come in, and then he misses his back, so there's no back swing at all, and then he pulls really hard. So still, legs will be going into it, but nowhere near the connection he wants, okay? So that's my impression of the Hunter stroke. And why am I saying it's the Hunter stroke, and why am I mean, listen, Hunter, love you, great, it's fine. Is that by missing the connection between the legs and the back, there's so much potential power that could be going into the stroke that he's not putting in, okay? So the backswing, so if I, hang on, I've got to work this out. If I just go, here we go. So this is just a backswing, no legs, and I'm rowing at, what's that? 155 pace, okay? With just my back, right? And if I do the same with my arms, try and, right, my little puny arms, 157 pace, okay, then again, 150, 149 pace with just my legs, okay? So it shouldn't take a genius to think, well, what if you used your legs, your body, and your arms? What's the possible power you could get from that? I'd love to say I'm going to get down at like 1 minute 10 here, but that's not going to happen. But if stroke rate just then was about 26, so if I try and give this absolute welly at 26 strokes a minute, all right, give me a second, get it going. All right, here we go. Right, so 137 pace after just a few strokes. So all of it combined then lets me go even faster. Or I can go, da-da-da. Let's see, 24. So 23 strokes a minute. I'm not giving it welly. This is very comfortable. I could do this all day long, and I'm at 155, 153 pace, but I'm now so much more efficient because I'm using my legs, my back, and my arms that I can now use, I mean, if I want to, let's go on an RPE scale. So when I was rowing down at 138 with absolutely everything, let's call that 10 out of 10. Just then at 155 pace, that felt like a 5 out of 10, possibly 4 or 5 out of 10. That was very easy. And that's round about the pace that I'll row the high rocks at, because it gives me a chance to efficiently use every muscle in my body into the machine, my system can then calm down a little bit, ready for everything that's going to go on. But if I was just trying to hit 1:53 pace by taking short strokes, not using my back, pulling in my arms, then that's going to fatigue me really quick. And you have to think, after the row, you're about to kind of run round, come into the farmer's carry. And if you've just completely destroyed your arms by jamming it in, trying to get down at a faster pace because you're not using your whole body, then right in here, which is the part you don't want to hurt before a farmer's carry, is going to be, is a Scottish word, louping, okay? Where that's going to be like on fire because you're just using your arms. Whereas if you use all of your body, you can be so much more efficient. So what I'd say in the case of Hunter is I think this is a decision that he's made. I think he knows fine well that the proper rowing stroke is to go legs, back, arms, but I think he backs off and uses his upper body because he's so strong, he's got so much overall fitness that he's like, yeah, it's fine, I can row a 1K with my upper body and then go into the rest of it. But the normals, the me's of this world can't do that. So listening to people with that kind of fitness, that kind of strength, give you advice on how to do your row, I think is a mistake, okay? So if you're wanting to have maximum efficiency when it comes to your row, whether that's to go faster or whether that's to go at the same speed more efficiently, so you're not hitting max heart rate and whatever on the rowing machine, which is really not don't want to be doing, or whether you're using it as a rest, then that's the point, is that if you can be really efficient, use all of your body here rather than it being missing the legs, missing the backswing. The backswing's the most important part here for most folks, is that's what's missing, is that, like I say, everyone kind of, what I see most is people in the row, they're kind of like this. In fact, let's add in the handle throw as well. Okay, so this is what I see at high rocks all the time. People that are kind of just thinking that this is how you row, okay? And it's not. And so this is, after that kind of, hopefully we've raced through to this point. This is where I want to kind of like at least talk to you about how to just kind of elevate what happens when you sit on the row. And the reason I say elevate is because that's the first thing I want you to do, is that I want you to think, so if you sit down, if you're constantly like this on the machine, everything's tucked back, hips are kind of rolling backwards, I want you to imagine you're just being shouted at for slumping at the dinner table. Okay, so maybe hopefully you know what I'm on about. But you was there and someone said, sit up, John, and you go, oh, and you sit up straight, like, oh, where's my peas and my mashed potato? And suddenly, you've now got a much more primed position, okay? And that's really, if nothing else from this video, that's what I want you to take away, is this idea of getting your hips kind of tilting forwards rather than rolled backwards, sitting up with a much more powerful posture. Because if I was just to roll forwards with my arms out in front of me, the mass of my body moving into the front, going to the back, this is, because I have this posture, sitting up, this is the angles you want to be in as you go into the front, just because of the mass of your arms, and then to the back, okay? So there's nothing more than this. So you're not pancaking down to the front of the machine, and at the same time, you're not finishing completely laying back at the back. So you're going into the front of the machine to a 1 o'clock angle, and then you come into the back to an 11 o'clock angle. And that's all you need, as long as you're pushing with your legs. So you come into the front, push with the legs while holding that forwards tilt, okay? And your arms are still straight, and then that way, I'm going to use the deadlift analogy here, but it's not quite the same, but it's enough for the start. The start of a deadlift and the start of the rowing stroke in terms of what your body's doing is the same. The angles are slightly different, but the whole point of it is that when you're doing a deadlift, you go down and you plant your feet down and you drive out and you keep your arms straight. And that is the same as the rowing stroke, okay? So you come into the front, you drive through your feet with the straight arms, power from the legs, power comes up through your posterior chain, through your arms, into the handle, and into the machine. So you just power, okay? So you just come in, and if ever you want to practice how to do this, this is all you have to do, is arms straight, forwards tilt, and then push the feet while thinking about maintaining that forwards tilt and arms straight. And remember, you can start, sit up at the dinner table, all right, okay. And then you come into the front. And if ever you think you're getting sloppy, just remember to sit up at the dinner table again and just push and push. And then what happens is naturally, if you can start for like half of the leg drive, so say to about here, then naturally what happens is your back will want to swing back anyway. It's really hard to think about doing a full rowing stroke while constantly slumped forwards if you've got a good posture. So you drive, you swing. That's the second part. Drive, swing. Drive, swing. Okay? And then it's the back of the stroke where you finally bend your elbows. So up until the back of the stroke, you want to keep your arms nice and straight in order to allow the power to flow into the machine from your legs and your back. Your arms are just conduits, the same way you'd hang from a pull-up bar. You don't kind of hang on with bent elbows, but from a pull-up bar, straight arms, and you can just hang there for however long you want. So on the rowing stroke, hang, pull at the back, and then you return, tilt forwards, you're in your proper position because you've thought, sit up at the dinner table, into the front again, drive with the legs, swing in the body, pull in the arms at the back. And so if you can get that posture right, and you can think about pushing your feet into the machine, then you can start to adjust the amount of power you're putting in from your feet. And the more of a push you put from your feet, if your arms are straight and you've got that forwards tilt, then the more you push with the feet, the more you'll feel your hands brace against the handle, the more power you're putting into the machine. And then what you need to find is the pace that works for you, whether that means hanging around at a nice 5 out of 10 RPE in order to use this as the rest in high rocks, or whether you really push in, get the stroke rate high, and then race through your 1K. So that's how you use the machine in the most effective way. It's a combination of technique, stroke rate, and your own decision as to what kind of race you're going to have when it comes to the row. Okay, so don't get caught up in people saying that you have to use it as a rest. If you've got enough energy, by all means, batter in, go as fast as you want. Or if, like me, you get to the row, you can think, right, I'm going to ease off here. Because a good example is that I would sit down and do a 1K time trial. So if I was completely fresh in the gym, sit down, punch 1,000 meters into the monitor, and then row it as fast as I could in round about 3 minutes 10. Okay, so that's 1:35 pace to do 1,000 meters. I wouldn't go anywhere near that in high rocks because I'd be on the floor and I've still got to do the farmer's carry and all that and lunges and stuff. So when it comes to the high rocks race floor and my single stuff, I'll row it round about 1:55 pace, which is 20 seconds slower than my kind of max that I'd be able to do it at, in order to allow that I can get that rest, because the extra, the extra 40 seconds that I could get from sitting down and mashing out a 1K time trial on the high rocks floor, those 40 seconds will end up costing me about 10 minutes as I'm lying on the floor, unable to get up and do the rest of my race. So that's where your own knowledge comes in, and that's where training comes in. That's where the experience of being on the rowing machine during sims or during your training things, you'll start to learn the pace that works for you at specific points, depending on where your race is. And you should know, if you have a good technique, that all you have to do is adjust how much you push with your feet in order to reduce the intensity. If you're feeling great, you push harder. If you're thinking, oh, you push a little less, and then you can maybe after 100 meters, 200 meters, you start to feel a little bit fresher and you can kind of increase the pace again. Okay, so the last thing, just because I was saying about training, the lever on the side of a machine, the numbers on it mean absolutely nothing. One of the things that frustrates me most about Hyrox is their idea that you have to set the lever to 5, 6, or 7. That, from a global point of view, means absolutely nothing. Now, Hyrox rowing machines are going to be clean, okay? So they're going to have no, in fact, they will have no dust or dirt around the metal kind of fan with all the holes, this little mesh, that's the word I'm looking for. These will be completely clean, but the problem is that pretty much every single CrossFit box or gym or training facility I've ever been to, they don't look after the machines, okay? So all this dust, sweat, pain, whatever, spit, all gets aimed towards that mesh and all the little holes clog up. And what then happens is that reduces the amount of air that gets into the fan. So less air means it's going to feel a lot lighter. And a lot lighter means you're not going to be training at the weight that the machine's going to feel like on the race floor. Okay, so does that make sense? So if you set the lever to 5 on a dirty machine, then it's actually going to be the same as 2 on a clean machine. So by the time you actually sit down on the Hyrox race floor and the lever on Hyrox is set to 5, what will feel like to you is 10, okay? Because you're not used to rowing on a clean machine that allows all of that air into the front. And it doesn't really matter in terms of performance. The Concept 2, it knows what's going on. It's got squirrels inside the monitor that work out all the airflow, and so it doesn't matter in terms of performance whether you're rowing down at 1 or 10. But what will matter is your perceived effort of the row. Because if you sit down and you're like, oh, there we go, lever's at 5. I'm used to rowing at 5 on my dirty CrossFit box. Well, hey, then you start rowing and suddenly it feels like the stroke is so heavy and you're like, what is going on here? Why do I feel like this is so bad? I'm obviously tired. What have I done to my race? And it's because you've been under training. You've not been putting in or you're not been facing the weight of the machine that you're going to be racing on the Hyrox race floor. So you wouldn't wander around with a set of 18 kilogram kettlebells where you're training for the open for the 24 kettlebells, would you? You're just going to go and then, or at least you wouldn't do that and then be surprised when you picked up the 24 kilogram kettlebells on the race floor. You'd understand what's going on there. Whereas here, because the number just says 5 or 6 or 7, you're like, why does this feel so hard? And suddenly it plays games in your head and you're starting to go, oh, I'm obviously tired, this isn't going right and whatever. And it's not, it's just because you're not used to training at that weight of the machine. So what I would say is this. First off, speak to your gym and whoever and get them to clean your machines. But if you press the menu button, and then you'll see down at the bottom, it says more options. Go up to the top, it says display drag factor. Then it says row to display drag factor on the screen. And so you row a couple of strokes. So set the lever wherever you want it to be, and then row a couple of strokes. So if you row at 6 on the Hyrox race floor, you want to row, and when you see the drag factor come up on screen, at 6, you want it to be somewhere between 145 and 160, okay? I'll give you a good range here. If it's between 145, 160, you're fine, lever 6. And then if you're kind of above 160 to say 185 or something at 7, great, fantastic. And then down at 5, you're going to be round about 135, maybe a little bit under. But if you go in and you set your lever to 5 and then you row to display drag factor, and on lever 5 it's saying that your drag factor is 88, right? Then what that means is that you're getting nowhere near. Remember, I just said it's supposed to be run about 130, 135. So if it's down at 88 when you're at lever 5, it means you're getting nowhere near the weight that you're going to experience on the Hyrox race floor. And so in that case, what you need to do is lift the lever up until you can start to see a drag factor around about 130. And if you can't get up to 130, that's when you go bang on the manager's door at your gym and say, oi, mush, clean my machine, because I need to be able to row properly on a machine. I'm paying you money, clean it. I have a video on my channel showing you how to clean the machine, but it's simple enough. Take the mesh off, give it a wipe, put it back on, and all is good. But that's the thing. So don't just think that it's 5, 6, or 7 on any machine around the world that you use. The Hyrox race floor, yes, they're all going to be pretty much the same, but I have been, the Pure gym that's near me, I have set the lever up to 10 and I've only got 90 drag factor. Up at 10, you should be getting around about 220. And I've been at similar gyms all over the place. And I try and tell people to clean their machines. They all just go, what's the man saying? So yeah, anyway, right. So to recap, technique is what allows you to put the power into the machine, and that's what allows you to make the decision between whether you're going to perform or rest. And for the people who don't know how to row, please try and sit up and then use your legs, then your back, then your arms in order to give yourself a chance to be able to get better. Because if you're just still flapping up and down like a dying salmon, you're never going to get better at the rowing stage. You're always going to be sitting at round about that kind of 5 minutes for the 1K because you're just not able to put the power into it. Start rowing with a better technique, and that's where your legs will get stronger, your core will get stronger, your arms will get stronger, and you'll get better at the row, and that will start to shave off a little bit of time. So even for the elite guys that are just looking at trying to get these 1 or 2 seconds a little bit faster, these marginal gains, I'd say if you're the kind of person where you come in and you're not using your backswing, start using your backswing. You're going to get to go either a little bit faster or at the same pace with less effort. So wouldn't you like to be rowing your 1K, that if you're doing your 1K row at 145 pace, but it feels like you're at an RPE of 9, wouldn't you love to be rowing at 145 pace at an RPE of 7? That'd be amazing. You could then go into your next run really fast. Anyway, and then the other thing is just to make sure and set drag factor for the machine you train on to either 135, 150 or 165, okay, depending on 5, 6, or 7. Use drag factor on the monitor and not the lever. I look forward to seeing some of you folks on the race floor. I'm racing so far this year in London. I'm doing doubles with Martin Boyce, and then off to Frankfurt, and then I'm off to Vegas, baby. Just the open for the last 2 of them, doubles with Martin, and then the open for the other 2. And hopefully I'll get into a bunch of other ones. So if you see me on the Hyrox floor walking around, then make sure and pop up and say hi. If you see me running around in circles and racing, make sure and yell, hey, come on, go faster, and come and watch me row, and you'll see me fail at everything I've just told you. But yeah, and of course, if you want any personal tips and things, I am available. To be honest, I do technique reviews entirely for free. If you send me a video of you rowing, I will review your technique for free, as long as it's a video. I will also do an hour-long web chat with you, but that you have to pay for. But the initial review checkup, absolutely free, okay? And I'll kind of help, and I'll give you kind of a little bit of advice. And you can, of course, check out the RowAlong YouTube channel to get a whole bunch of workout ideas and a whole bunch of other tips on how to row and things. But I will say goodbye. So race well in your next Hyrox, and thank you once again for having me here. I hope you enjoy the rest of the summit. Until I see you next time, row well, be well, bye-bye.